Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about photography. Some of you guys may have an Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and you make all these really pretty things, and sometimes it's cool to add an extra artistic layer by taking cool photos. And so I just wanted to give a few tips and tricks on how we do them. We're not professionals by any means, but we have lots of fun. And by we, I mean my husband, Jody Smith, who you can find on Instagram at @theyounger_Smith, and he's gonna come and I'm gonna ask him a bunch of questions, and I get to bother him, and we're gonna talk about three photo shoots that we did, and we're gonna go through them and just kind of give tips, and it's gonna be like real life photo shoots. First and foremost, let me just say that he has a really nice camera, but he did not start out that way, and we took a lot of pictures on my iPhone like at first. So phone pictures are fine, DSLR pictures are fine, and it's really, we're just gonna talk about like tips on how to take good pictures and lighting and things like that. So it doesn't really matter what kind of camera you have. Actually, the other stuff I think is more important. So anyway, so what kind of camera do you have?
I have a Nikon D810, and it's the lens I use generally is a Sigma 35mm.
Okay, and then he never really changes anything about that. So
No.
And you usually have your settings. What are your settings usually?
Different.
Yeah, because they're on manual.
It depends on the light. Yeah, I use
Yeah.
manual. So I'd like to get as close to ISO 100 if you know what that is, but it doesn't always work because she's moving a lot. So if the longer the lens is open, the shutter is open, the more blurry she gets. So I try to get it at about 400 ISO when I'm taking pictures of her, and then the shutter speed is about 200ths of a second or faster. I can generally capture her without blurring her face.
So if you didn't understand any of that, that's okay, because the point is, if you're going to be moving quickly, you can't really be taking pictures in a super dark area because your lens is going to have to be open for longer, and you're going to be blurry because your camera isn't going to be able to take the picture as fast. And so you're just, if you move at all, like I'm moving all the time, so, and he's tried to control me, but he can't. So so we have to make sure we have enough light coming in. Even if it's sunset, it's supposed to be bright enough, and you have to have a good enough lens to get enough light in so that your picture isn't blurry. So that's the main thing.
Yeah,
so I guess
your phone a lot of times will just bump the ISO like a ton. So if it's really dark, it can still come out okay, but it might be a little bit grainy. So if it's too dark, if you don't have a lens or a phone that's capable of getting really bright light without bumping the ISO, then it might be kind of grainy, but you can still use that.
Yeah.
But just know that that might happen.
So let's start talking about the tips when you're on a photo shoot, and we are going to move to some video of me taking a picture on the beach with all the kids running around, making a mess, going crazy. So
yeah, so we have to still try to go really fast because we have all of our kids everywhere.
Yes.
So we've kind of gotten it down to like, I just tell her something and it doesn't hurt her feelings.
Yeah.
Like, hey, don't do that.
Don't stick out your tummy or stop. Mostly I'm just slouching. Like,
Slouching is a lot of it.
because you know, sometimes you think like when you're doing model pose, you like put your shoulders forward, and Jody's like,
That looks more like this.
okay, it really just looks like this. Even though I try to get it to look more modelly. Another thing that I'll do that I've stopped doing is like when you're playing with your hair, like don't go to like extremes and like pull it way out here or like squunch it like way up here. Like little movements, the camera picks up little movements, like just kind of barely touch it, or you know, don't like stick your arm out like this, but just kind of like a little bit, you know. So different levels are really helpful when you're taking pictures, like making your body sideways and putting like a leg forward and like twisting and like maybe bringing this hip up or something like that. Like you kind of want to just have like different, I don't know, like make yourself look dynamic, like you're moving. If you just stand straight on, you're gonna look like a square. No matter what you're wearing or what size you are, you're just gonna like look like a box. And so he'll say stuff to me like, okay, don't look like a box.
Yeah, or like you need some movement, so like create curves, whether you have them or not. So like
I don't have them.
But still, but so like getting up on her toes, she does it all the time to like make her legs look longer and leaner. It kind of tones up the calves, and also kind of turning and pivoting like creates movement. Or it depends on if she's wearing a certain outfit, like the dress with the hankies. What is that one?
It's a really boxy dress, the bandana dress.
Bandana dress.
Yes.
It's very boxy. And so I was like, you gotta move, you gotta pull something up a little bit, or like turn sideways, otherwise it's just like,
just show like
like a
how
cereal
dynamic the dress is.
Right.
And like when you move and take a picture, like if you can see the movement, it just becomes more alive, I guess. And like all of these things to like make my legs look longer and my arms, you know, smaller or whatever. I'm completely happy with the way my body is. So it's not that I'm like self-conscious about it. It's just that
it's more flattering.
It's more flattering for me to look at when it's like that. And the pictures can make you look like you're like, I don't look like that. They can make you look really boxy if you don't take them right.
That's like if you're taking your selfie, you don't take it from down here, because that's going to create stuff that's not there naturally because you're bending down. So it's like it's just being conscious of what your body's doing in certain motions.
Which, by the way, I am the worst person on the planet at selfies. So this is not a video about that, okay?
I have to take her selfies.
I literally cannot
Not a
take them. And I never have. I've never been like a selfie type person anyways. But yeah, that's another point. Have your chin up, but not like all the way back. Like try to just kind of give yourself some length, because you'd be surprised if you're looking straight on how like your head can just look like super two-dimensional, you know, because the picture is a two-dimensional picture, and so you want it to look 3D, so you have to kind of like be a dancer and like reach or do whatever. And if you look ridiculous, you don't have to keep that picture. I mean, I do some really weird pictures sometimes. We will take like 150 and get like 8 or something like that, and sometimes we get like 25, and he's like, he edits my pictures, he's like, I'm not editing 25. I'm like, but they're all so good, it was such a good shoot. So but yeah, and you know, it took a while for us to get comfortable with each other too, because for a while, like, he wouldn't tell me if I had like a piece of hair like over my face. He was just looking at the scenery, and I'm like, we have like 50 pictures, and I'm like, why didn't you tell me that one piece of hair was like this? Now we have to do them all over. He's gotten a lot better at seeing that kind of stuff, and I've gotten a lot better at like noticing where I'm standing. Like, don't stand in front of a trash can, or, you know, don't stand with half of your body in the sunlight and half of it not. So let's talk about light.
Okay, light. So for the sunset shoot that we did, side light is a lot more flattering than the light behind you, because then everything back here is gonna be really bright and you're gonna be really dark. If it's right in front of you, the photographer could be in the frame, like the shadow, or it's just like she said, it just cuts you down to like two-dimensional. So if it's like on the side light, so the sunset was like off to the side, and I had her stand where it was like coming right here, so it kind of outlines her hair. And so in editing, like, I can do a lot more with that than if it's just all flat and like the same lighting. So you want your lighting to kind of still lighten you up, but you want to make sure it's not too different from what's around you. So like full sun, we don't. We do, but we try not to do pictures in full sun.
First of all, I can't even open my eyes in full sun because I'm like,
and it creates a lot of harsh shadows, like bags under her eyes, and just, it doesn't flatter anything she's wearing. So like that we really try our best not to do that. We wait for clouds, or we just wait for it to be later in the day.
Or a place in the yard that's in shade.
So we try to find some place that's shaded from by the house. Or this house we're at right now, like the backyard is almost completely in the shade. So we took a lot of pictures back there in the sun.
Yeah. So it's kind of like if you're in like art class or something and you have like a piece of fruit and you got like the light on this side and like the shading on the other side. It gives it so much dimension and life. And that's kind of like what pictures are like when we take them. We try to like get some kind of side light or something. It just gives you so much more definition. And front on light never looks good to me unless you have a like super bright flash, which we don't really own.
We do, well, okay. We did on this photo shoot on the beach. I did have our daughter hold the flash, an external flash, because the side light was the sun and it was really bright and it really darkened that side. So we just needed a little bit more light
on the other side
for the bathing suit one.
To balance that out. That's true. So we did do that. But yeah, we don't really like, we wait for the light, but we just kind of work, like whenever we can't, you know, schedule photo shoots, we just kind of do them when we have time. And so we just kind of like work with whatever light we're given. But golden hour, which is like basically sunset or right before sunset. Right before and
right after the sunset.
Is really the best time to take pictures that we found. But we can't always take them around that time, so it's just like, you know, just find a shaded spot or whatever. Don't go next to a piece of trash, trash can.
Yeah, be really aware of like what's behind you.
Yes.
When we did the one with the bandanas, there was like another house next to us that we had to like kind of work around. But if you're using a DSLR or even like your iPhone on portrait mode where it like cuts the frame where it like kind of makes the background fuzzy, you can kind of get away with stuff being in the background.
Because you won't be able to see it
because it's fuzzy.
And you can crop things out too.
Yeah, that's most of what I do. Like we'll have George like right next to her in half of her pictures, like right now. But yeah, George will be like in the picture with her, and I'll just kind of cut that part of it out, or a trash can or whatever else, power, like a outlet or something.
Yeah, I'll stand next to anything, like don't even think about it. I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and Jody's like, can you get your arm away from that light switch over there?
Yeah, or like stand in front of it, or like scoot to where I can crop it later.
So that kind of stuff. And obviously this all didn't happen overnight. Like we've been doing this for a really long time, so all of these things we kind of like, it doesn't have to be that perfect. Like if you go back, please don't, but if you go back to my original Instagram photos, they're really not good. They are way over filtered and over processed, and that's another thing that really okay, Jody's dealing with the little one. But filters can be a really good thing, but they can also be a really bad thing, because you don't want your picture to look like really over processed. Like you want it to look like it's natural, or that it possibly could happen in the environment you're in, not that like it's a photo that like those colors could never happen. A lot of people do that and they're successful with it, but I don't like it because I feel like it's just not real. Now obviously we edit our photos. He doesn't like change my nose or make my hair bigger or like make my arms a different size, nothing like that. All we really do is crop and maybe like brighten, or you know, maybe like bring out the reds or something like that. Pretty much just kind of like slowly alter the colors, but like really over processing is just not something I'm a fan of. But I know a lot of people do it, but I get tired of it. Like I feel like I'm more consistently love just like the natural look of the actual picture. And then what other notes do we have for the beach?
I don't know what you talked about.
I was just talking about processing, like over processing pictures.
Oh, I was gonna say that it's taken a long time for me to know what she wants in the editing part of it. So I just have to ask, like, what do you want this picture to look like?
Yeah.
Because I'll edit it how I think it looks great, but my background is landscape photography, not fashion. So I do it very different.
It has taken a while because sometimes when I put on an outfit, I'm like, this makes me feel vintage, or this makes me feel like super fun, or like I kind of like tell him how it makes me feel, and then that's kind of how he edits it. You have a few presets that you use, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, those are filters, but they're not like crazy filters.
No,
like,
I get started with those. I'll like pick one that gets
And you
close
can
to
tone
the
'em
feel,
down.
and then I'll get it exactly how I want
Yeah.
to make. And the fabric, like filters, change the fabric color.
Yes.
And she'll be like, "That was not.
That is not
purple.
the color of my
it
dress."
was something else." I'm like, "Oh." So I have to try to
Yeah.
remember what she actually wore.
Yeah,
look
there
like.
was this one time where I wore something that was kind of purpley, and in the picture it was blue, and I was like, that's not the color of the fabric. He's like, well, I just edited the picture to where it would look good, and I was like, yeah, but it can't be that color, because that's not the color.
Yeah.
So with selling, that's kind of important, because I want the colors to be true, you know, I want them to look like how they were when I made them.
Yeah.
Because we all know we're particular about our colors of our fabric. So
Another thing we always didn't do at first, but we do now, is like getting like a close up for like sneak peeks, because she'll
Yes.
always like put like a picture of like a button or something. I don't
Yes.
know what she puts. So like just a little close up of the fabric or a detail of the garment. So we always try to do that right at the very end, after the whole photo shoot usually.
yeah, because I would forget to do that, and a lot of my sewing friends would be like, what about the details? I want to see what kind of buttons you used, or what does your zipper look like, or what do the ties in the back look like? And I would completely forget to take those pictures. So don't forget about those. They're really important. A lot of people love them. Sewing people love details, right? Right. Typically we'll have a bunch of pictures. I just pick out the ones I like, and then he will just edit those. So we pretty much trash the ones that I won't even like consider.
Yeah, so I'll upload all of them. I use Lightroom CC on my computer. I have it on my phone, but I don't use it on my phone. I use it on my computer so we can see it really good. And then I'll load them all, and then she'll rate the ones she wants, and then I'll just edit those, and then size them and do all that kind of stuff, and then send them to her phone to post.
That's what I was gonna say. Sometimes on the computer, the pictures look a lot brighter and different than when you put them on your phone. And I'll show them, and I'm like, oh, this looks kind of dark on my phone. You could have the settings on your phone set to really dark mode, and so you might just need to brighten your actual phone to see what the picture would really look like for everybody. And B, sometimes they really are darker in your phone because they're just like smaller, it's a smaller space. And so if you're targeting something to look good on Instagram, just make sure you like it. If it's a photographer you're not going to see again or whatever, that you like how it looks on your phone. And plus you have to also see how it's going to look in Square if you're going to post it on Instagram, because if you're taking something in like a landscape mode, you're not going to get any of that on Instagram. So Facebook, I think you can post a different size, but Instagram you really can't. So
sometimes we like to do a little bit of more artistic shots, so we're really thoughtful of like putting plants or like a flower in the foreground, and it's like real blurry because she's still in focus.
Yeah.
And so you can go as artistic as you want, as long as like if she's doing like her garment, like make sure she has pictures of that, but then also like just really eye-catching when you're scrolling through, be like, oh, that looks like a advertisement. Oh, that's Victoria.
Magazine photo.
Okay.
That's
So,
my
yeah.
favorite compliment to get one of them. They're like, this looks like an editorial shot. And I'm like, because, you know, half of that has nothing to do with me, but I was still in the picture. So.
I like those comments too.
So, yeah. So another really important thing that we've always really cared about, especially when you were doing landscape photography, is like the rule of thirds when you're talking about composition.
So the rule of thirds is that you break up the image 3 parts horizontally and 3 parts vertically. And so you don't want to be like sitting in the middle of the picture, because that's just not pleasing. It's not like, it doesn't draw your eye in. So like if I'm cropping one of her images, I'll usually try to put her just to one of the side lines so that she's like breaking the image in 3, or like vertically. It just depends on what kind of picture it is, and that makes people's eye drawn more to it, kind of draws them in. It uses negative space, so like if I'm over here and she wasn't here,
Rude.
there's a lot of negative space. But if she's like looking down this way and all this space is over here, that's not, everyone's going to be like drawn off the picture, and all of this is just going to be in the way.
Yeah.
But if she's looking this way, looking down, looking towards the negative space in the picture, then that is a lot better
Right.
use of negative space.
And sometimes she tells me like what leg to put out and like what arm to put out. It doesn't always do that, but then if he can like see like a path in the picture, it's better to like have your limbs like work in that direction versus like boxing it up or breaking it up or something like that.
Yeah, there was one time on the beach you had put your leg like up
Yes.
on a hill,
Yeah.
which could have been cool, but it looked more like she was going into combat, like just trudging up this mountain. I was like, that's not very
And you weren't really
pleasing.
photographing that section either. You were doing more
right.
of this
'cause
side of me.
There was a dune right there, and I was going this way, so she
So-
needed to move the
So
other
I
direction.
needed to like look like I was going the other way. So that was like one time where you were like, "Hey, don't do that."
You're doing it wrong.
And we're married, so I'm like, whatever. You're doing it wrong. And I think that's it.
I think so.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed my special guest.
Be sure to subscribe down below, hit that like button, let other people find it.
And notification
Notification
bell. So
bell.
you can be notified when I have another video.
Please make a comment down below about anything related to this video or not.
Oh my god. Let me know if you want me to have this Joker on here with me again.
Yes.
And let me know if you have any questions. Some of you guys may not have cared about this at all, but I know when I was starting, I would have really appreciated this from like a normal person's perspective, because we are we are like just normal people, okay? So, and my pictures, I've gotten a lot of compliments in my pictures and on our pictures.
I have as well.
Excuse me. I always forget to tag him as the photographer.
Every day.
It's horrible.
Every day. But I'm fine with that. I don't want the attention.
Yeah, sure you don't. Anyways, so
My Instagram is @theyounger_Smith.
I already said that.
It'll be right here.
And he has a YouTube channel as well.
Don't go to it.
Yes, you can if you want to. Alright, well, I hope you guys have a fabulous day, and we'll talk to you, or I will talk to you later.
I will talk to you later. Bye.